Hello everyone and welcome to the video. This is part 2 of me developing a full track using the Sekora Artist Essentials preset pack, link in the description for that. In this video, I am going to be trying to develop this track that I started. I've got an 8-bar loop and I'm just going to build it out into a full track. I'm going to be following the kind of track production process that I always follow, so you're going to get to see exactly how I work in the studio. This is like being in a studio session with me. Let's just talk about that process though before we jump into the door, because I think having a process and following a sort of a set pathway to getting music finished is a really important part of being a productive producer, actually getting stuff done. So I'm going to talk you through what that process looks like for me very quickly. So I'll see up on the screen, I'll put the process up here now. You can see that first of all, I start off with these initial ideas. Like this is the stuff that you've already seen me do in the previous video, just getting to some hooks, some ideas, some melodies, some chord progressions, and a simple set of drum loops. Next up, I'm going to do a static mix. So I actually then break that mix down, actually, get that 8-bar loop and create a little mix out of it so that I can get my levels right and balance is right before I get into all the kind of automation and everything else I want to do. Then it's arrangement, and that's what I'm going to focus on, start with today, getting a track arranged, getting it structurally right so that it feels like it flows and tells a story. After that, I'm going to finish all the musical elements. That means creating all of the vocal parts, the melody parts, the chord parts, making sure there's everything in there that I want to be a part of this track. Then I'm going to finish all the drum elements. That means adding all the details, adding lots of little kind of trills and fills and ghost notes, and just making the drums sound interesting. Then it's detailed automation, going into all of those little parameters in every synth and seeing if I can tweak it to add life and movement and rhythm to the track. After that, I'll add all the ear candy, the transitions, the drops. I do that now rather than earlier in the process because I actually want my automation and my structure and my melodic elements to carry a lot of that energy in the track. I don't want to just be relying on fills and white noise to do all that, it's a bit lazy. But I do add that stuff because it can really help just give the extra, it's like sort of a little bit of seasoning on top that gives the track the extra energy it needs. Then we get into the final mix. That's making it all feel really tight and coherent, including all the bus processing I want to do to really kind of get that nice tight gluey feeling within the mix. Then we master it. I master all my own stuff, although I do work with external mastering engineers as well. But to send it off to labels, you need to do a decent master so it's got comparative loudness to other tracks they'll be listening to. Then I'll spend probably a few weeks doing edits, tweaks, fine-tuning. I'll send it to producer friends I know. I'll get their feedback. I'll make changes. There's lots of tweaking that happens over a few weeks before I feel like the track's really ready. And then once all that's done and I'm happy with it, I ship it and we get it out to labels and see what they say. So that's my process. Today, we'll go as far as we can and see how far we get. I'm going to work for about an hour. I find it's better to time box your studio sessions so that you can give your ears a rest after an hour and maybe do something else for a little while. Keeps it fresh, keeps you inspired. So we'll see how far we get in an hour. And well, let's jump into the door and see how we go. Okay, then here we are in the door, back in our project. So let's just have a quick listen to see where we got to at the end of the last video, remind ourselves where we are. So this is that's our little main melody. You can imagine that's like the center point of the tune where everything's coming in and playing together. If you are exceptionally eagle-eared and eyed, you'll notice that I've made a few changes since the end of the last video. There's small things like I got rid of the second part of this vocal. I might add it in again later on. I just felt it was a bit much. So I've just kept it with this kind of little thing, this little initial bit. And what I've done to that vocal as well, I've added a bit of a LFO to it to give it a gated feel, this kind of trance gate style. I'm freezing this delay so you can see like it comes in, but then when it went, so then it would go away, but here you can see I'm just freezing it after the first little refrain, so, and it just keeps going forever, that delay, and that means the LFO can keep working on it forever. And then I'll probably just automate that on and off when it comes to the track itself. Anyway, the lead I've changed ever so slightly because it was I've made it repeat itself a bit here. So we've got, so there it didn't do that before. So now it's got this kind of sense of repetition, which I think tightens it up, makes it more interesting. And then that bass note is changed. I played it just felt like it wasn't quite, there wasn't enough tension in that last note. So this comes up here. So it goes, hang on, this, the freeze thing is quite annoying. So, and then this time it's, so it just creates the tension each time. So it just feels nicer. It just feels like it sort of closes itself off in a nicer way. Anyway, so that's some little changes, which I just think slightly improve it. But at this point, what I want to do is I want to get us into an arrangement, because I've got enough here to be working with. I'm sure we'll add some more ideas. I'm sure we'll want to make it, improve it in lots of different ways. But right now we've got enough to be able to make an arrangement with. So I'm going to show you a really simple way to do arrangement, and it's called copying someone else's arrangement. So when you're starting out producing, arrangement is one of those things that's really easy to get wrong. Like it particularly making songs much longer than they should be. And so the longer the track, like the more you have to sustain interest, the harder that is to do. And frankly, the trend in dance music these days, I see anyway, is for tracks to become a little bit tighter, a little bit shorter. It used to be the case that 7, 8, 9 minutes was normal for house music. Now it's definitely coming down to more like 5, 6 minutes. So, but that means you've really got to think about arrangement and how you build your track over time. It's such an important part of it. Trying to come up with that, like off the top of your head on your own, particularly when you're starting out, can be quite hard. So what I do is I will often take a track that I like and I will use that as the starting point for my arrangement. Okay, so it may be that I don't copy it completely, but it's the starting point. So the track I'm using here is a Sekora track by Tomb called Kingfisher. So there's like a little intro bit, then more drums. Then it's got this section here with more melodic elements. It's just a real builder, which I think will suit the track we've created here. And then it goes into a drop, like a big breakdown here. And then a nice drop. Everything back in again. And then a little bit less, and then we're into an outro. But you can see, like, it's pretty tight. It's coming in at just under 5 minutes. That is very tight. So we'll see. I may go a bit longer than that. Yeah, I may want to go a bit longer than that. But it's great. This is a really nice arrangement. So the nice thing about this is I can do this without even listening to it. So if I get rid of some of these bits, I'm going to pull everything. I'm going to pull everything to one side. So let's make sure that's this. I don't know if you know this. If you can see up here in this corner, there is a little orange lock button that I'm clicking on and off. That, if I click it on, it means I can move the parts around. It'll lock the automation lines in place. If I hit it off, it'll take the automation lines with me. So I'm going to take it off and I'm going to move all of this. I'm going to cut it and paste it over here somewhere. All right. So don't get that move wrong, because you'll lose everything you've done. So that now gives us a blank project to kind of work into, a blank structure. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take each of these sections and I'm going to label them. So this is going to be bass in. This is the intro. This is where the bass comes in there, okay? This is, I think that's where the clap comes in, doesn't it? Yeah. This is clap in. And this is just one solid bass note. So let's just also do clap in and bass melody, right? Then it goes to here. Then we get to chords in. There's some big like pads and things coming in there. Then this is breakdown. Then we've got drop. And then we'll put in a little thing first here. Drop, no drum, no percussion. Like top drums, that's what I mean. Then full mix. This is everything. That's the kind of bit we've just been working on, really. And then I'm just going to put in here full mix 2, because that's going to be like a version of that, but maybe just a bit different, so that we can keep interest going. And then there's a little outro here too. All right. So having labeled that up, wait to see how easy this is. We can now just start laying things in. So I know, for example, kick. Let's do that first. So the kick's going to go. There is a little. Yeah, there's a bit of a kick in the front. It's been filtered out a bit by it sounds things. That's the full kick. So the kick in this track really runs all the way to the breakdown. There's a little bit of a gap, and then it runs all the way to there. Oh yeah, and this is another useful little trick as well. So you can see there's kind of like a. That's the end. So we're going to get right end, and then I'm going to put another one here, which is like final end, right? Because it ends and then it's like the actual end of the track itself. I'm going to then take this MIDI track up here so this is just a blank MIDI track that I always call whole track, right? I have this in every project. Blank MIDI track. I just create a MIDI, a blank MIDI track. This has got no instruments or anything in it. It's blank MIDI track. Stretch it out to be the length of the track, and then if I'm working on a section, like say I've got this like this, and I want to suddenly loop the whole track again, I can just always go back to looping the track just by right-clicking on this and hitting loop track, and it'll suddenly give me a loop of the whole track. It can speed up, lots of little hacks like that speed things up a lot. So now I've got this marked out. I know that's how far the kick needs to go. Okay, good. So we've done that. Let's get drums in. We know that, for example, there is... okay, so these drums... So there's like a kind of a little bit of... There's some percussion in here. Yeah, and then... That's going to be followed here and here. We've got the clap in. We're going to put the little ride in there as well. The breakdown. The goes all the way through, doesn't it? And then it drops out. And then that's just... Oh, there's a little bit, there's the hats are in there. So they come in about here. And then we get everything back in here. Okay. Everything back in, everything back in. All right, now, you know, we're not going to stick with this. I guarantee you will change this as we go through the track, but it's going to give us a really quick starting point. Okay, it feels like they run to the end. Okay, fine. So that's rough drums in. Then melody parts. So we've got this kind of ambience that runs through the whole track. That's just because I think that's everywhere, isn't it? Yeah. And then there's this ARP thing that's kind of going through the track. Let's run that. Let's run that to there and there, but I don't know. We might change that. And then that's going to be more there and there and there. And the chords are in there. Okay. I think roughly that's going to be right. The lead pluck can come in maybe here. Like I say, we will change probably all this. I'll give this a listen in a second. I'm just laying it in. I wonder if that starts there and then runs there. Yeah, I'm going to have to come back to the lead, I think, because we're going to have to think a bit more about where that goes. So the bass line, though, is here, 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 here. And then we're going to want a single note bass line for this start bit. So it's going to be something like that. Might not be the right note, but we'll give that a go. And then we'll change it if we need to. So there, that can go in. There and there. Let's just make sure they're on the right. Yep, that's okay. That's okay. That one needs to come up an octave. Okay, so that's now giving you. So basically, we've just done this arrangement in a couple of minutes. We're going to switch off Tomb and we're going to see what we've got here. Okay, this is a bit sparse. Ooh. Sounds cool, isn't it? What's that one? right? This is just, sounds good. And this is all thanks to Toom. So thank you, Toom, for helping me with my arrangement. But you see how long it would take me to figure this out on my own. Quite aggressive. You can see a little build up happening here. I'll probably do some variations on that melody here because it feels like it's repeating, it's repetitive. You can hear that it needs something else there. There'll need to be a second idea in this bit. Filter that out, I think, at the end. All right. I might add on a bit more outro, but we'll see. This is... So it just kind of maybe gives people a little bit more to mix out of. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring this end to here. Bring that to there. So that now becomes there. That goes to there. Let's rename this as end. Let's call that mix outro. Maybe I'll take the clap out of it and just have a few of these bits in here, not everything. That's nice. I might, noticing that that's actually got no processing at all. What I might do is run that through reverb. That little, this thing here. I mean, that's the default. Let's show you here. Default on vintage verbs. Let's see if we've got something here. Some lovely ones. Take a bit of the low end off. That's really nice. And then we can just see, it's just softened it a little bit. just take a bit of the top end off and add kickstart. Just give a bit of movement. And there's a couple other things actually, just while we're doing this. This is just a slight detour, but let's just add an auto filter. And then give that quite a long. And an auto pan. Let's put that before the Valhalla, and again give that quite a long. So it's just create a little bit of like movement in it, so it doesn't feel so like static. Subtle, but so that's better. Okay, and then I'm going to put another auto filter on that as well. No, sorry, that's not auto filter, is it? Another auto filter on that as well, because I will want to actually filter that in and out at some point, but I'll come to that when we do automation. So, okay, so let's just see if there's a place for this. When's a good place for this vocal? So if we go, I feel like it's like there's going to be a bit here where this kick kind of drops out for a second, and it could come in there. So obviously you don't want that to go on forever, because that would be too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get you till it... Actually, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a little bit of sound designy stuff on this very quickly, because it's really... This is quite a nice little effect. Let's get an auto filter and put it before... Let's see what I want it. Before the compression. There's a bit of compression limiting on this just to control it. So I'm going to do all this before that processing. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to get this little tool called Bass Clef's Easy Washout. You can get this from Bass Clef, it's free, and it's basically a knob that washes things out, right? So what I'm going to try here is show that automation in new lane and show that automation in new lane. So I've got all the automations here. So as this runs through, what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically wash this out whilst this out. As you can see, it's getting this sense of it getting more spacious. Do I want to do that? Nice. I could probably tweak that a little bit more, but I'm going to just not do that right now. But what I am going to do is I'm going to also add wider to it, because this is going to do a cool thing where, as well as it feeling like it's getting further away, it's going to push it out to the edges as well. And then oh yeah, this is the other thing I'm going to do is switch that freeze off about here, otherwise it's going to go on forever. So if I do this wider thing to here, let's see how that sounds. So it's pushed out to the edges now. Oh, that's nice. That's a nice little bit of sound design. That can go off here. That's enough of it. So now we've got this little like component part. From there to there, I can copy and paste that wherever I want. So like I can put it back here and it takes all the automation with it. That's good. That's good enough for now. I might tweak that a bit more later on, but that's kind of cool. There's a little bit of nice sound design that's gone in there. So is this... I'm going to switch that off for a second. So I just wonder if there's like a bit of da-da-da-da that could come in earlier. It's like to intro it in. So I might tease that. So this is what I'm gonna, let me see, what do I want to do here? Yeah, I think I'm gonna just play with this a little bit, because at the moment it's a bit, this is all a bit repetitive. I might just create some new versions of this. So it feels like this one, when this comes in, I want a simple thing. Da, da. So it'll just go da da.
Feels like it's not quite right on the grid. Is that right? Oh. Yeah, it's not. For some reason. Feels like it needs some of those.
Yeah, so the idea is that we want to try to create these little variations all the way through. Yeah, and I've just created a new version of that. So let's just be careful. You want to you do it in sections. Don't do what I've just done, which is overwrite the original melody. So fortunately, I've got a backup of it over here. That's why it's always helpful to have some backups. All right, so. So could I go up an octave here? What would that sound like? Sometimes that can help us, give us some energy. Just go up and then back down again. That's it. That's cool. I think I can imagine the bass line going with that as well. So you kind of go dum 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 dun 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 dun. And what I'm going to do as well is I'm just going to duplicate this. I'm going to cut all of this out here. I'm going to cut that out there. And I'm going to bring this down an octave. I'm going to double up here because it gets a little bit tinny without, I think, without, let's see. So you've got both octaves working together. And it keeps the body of it filled out a bit more. Get rid of that high bit there so it gets transitions. then keep it up high for ages. The next thing I want to do is actually the next thing I want to do is save this as a save live set as a work in progress. This is going to shift from my sketchbook folder into my work in progress folder. So I usually just give it a title like that, new idea. You can see there's lots of those in here, new idea. And we'll keep the time. We'll keep that there, 02 of 25, new idea. I'm going to put in brackets Sekora because that'll remind me which project this is. We've got most of the bits in here now. Is there anything we didn't add? No, it's all there. What I want to do now is I want to do like a really simple automation run where I just going to automate a load of parts in a really simple way. This is mainly like filtering, maybe some simple, you know, high passing, low passing, maybe a little bit of decay on the synth, things like that. But it's mainly just to give this track a sense of a storytelling. Otherwise, you know, it's all very flat with nothing really happening. So let's start at the start, the kick. I'm going to do a cut, high pass filter on this, but I'm also going to just create two. Watch this. I'm going to create two kicks. Right. And then I'm going to also auto filter that. See how much cleaner it is if I do it that way than if I actually, let's not use auto filter because auto filter's got some interesting stuff going on at the bottom end that I do not want to introduce into my kick. So let's do this instead. That's at 10 hertz. Okay. So that's the one I want there. So simple automation on the kick, do the same at the end, put that up like that, put that there, drag that down because it's going to be, okay, lovely. Then I want a filter, I've got one here already. Let's just so that's kind of what came in there. All right, fine. That's enough for that. And then let's put this filter on here. So I was going to do some filtering of this. So this main kind of So one of the things I like to do when I'm doing this automation is I just like to make my life a bit easier. Everything's more visible. If I'm going to basically set up a group here, an instrument rack, so I get these macros to play with, and I can jump into here by pressing the configure button on Diva, get the parameter I want to configure. Let's maybe also add that and a bit of that as well, because that way I've got a few things I can play with. Add that to there, add that to there, add that to there, and that's rename that because it'll get confusing. So that's decay 2. So see how this automation I'm using to create energy by building and releasing and opening and closing parameters. Again, let's do the same thing here. Hang on a second. Let's group it, bring up the macros, configure. I'm on this here, so I'm in this patch. I've got the cutoff I want to configure. So this is, let's do that decay, and then configure that, put that onto macro 1, put that onto decay 2. So then oh, listen to that. So put those automation lanes in, and then so I'm going to save that, I think. Now you can see that I don't have to touch it a lot with this particular patch to release it quite a lot. So what I might do here is just give me a bit more wiggle room. Is I'm going to take this, if I hit map, I get to, these are the macro mappings, and I get to just take the macro mapping down. What that means is it won't take it up to the full amount of cutoff. So the most it'll go up to is there. That's about the most I want, which means I've got a lot more space to play with now in these.
the same on the decay as well. I just don't want as much. So if I take that down over there.
So there's a lot happening in here. I'm probably going to do some work to make it not as busy and muddy as this. You can hear it starting to get in the way. So I might take a bit of the noise off the top of that top end. So just move that down like that. So that is that. This could also be quite cool. I kind of feel like I want... little kind of... Oh, this is so nice. So you can kind of go... So actually I might do a bit of... Let's do the mapping thing again, because I don't want to take it up too much. So let's do that and that. So...
Yeah, okay. Not quite. That's nice. Like that might need to be something a bit. Interesting. Okay. It's quite noisy. So, yeah, we're going to have to come back and fix that at some point. But we are getting close here to taking a break, I think. Let's just finish this last bit here with the bass. So I'm going to do the same thing again. Let's group that in. This is the bass here. See how that nice little is like, we'll do some more of that. Adds a lot of like movement and energy. Okay, nice bit of automation on that bass. Is there anything I want to do on this top one? Okay, so just messing around with some notes there. So that's something that sounded good in my head. I thought I'd add it in. Just moving up to the F. Okay, so we're going to do some basic automation on the lead now. So let's just add this in here. I'm going to switch this vocal off because that freeze effect is going to drive me crazy. It's cool, but it's maddening. All right, let's do a bit of that and a bit of that, probably. Okay, oh yeah, you can't see that. What I'm doing is I'm just adding the cutoff and the decay to here so that I can then map that to frequency, map that to macro 2. Okay. Simple. I'm not going to do much more than that at this point. I'll do the bottom one as well. Sorry, the high. Let's do the high one as well, because that might actually help us with our noise problem. Or it might make it worse. What am I doing here? Okay, let's do that. Let's do that. And then map that to macro 1, map that's macro 2. some stuff with mixing later on to get those two to sit together a bit better. This is fine for now in terms of automation. And then this is the other one we need to do, the lead pluck. So let's do the same thing here. Group it, map that onto there, map that onto there. It's cool, isn't it? Cool noise. Love this preset. What's this one called? Pluck Beyond. I can see myself using this a lot. Okay. So yeah, loads more to be done, lots more to make this work as a track and make it all fit together nicely. But this is in a really good spot right now. Like, I think we're in a nice place. Next up, I really want to get into some of these melodic parts and the drum parts and just really finish them off, get them sounding really good, get all the variations in there, maybe to add another idea into this final part of the track here. Maybe play with a vocal. Who knows? Maybe there's another vocal part. It'd be quite nice to have a little phrase in there or something. See if I can find something like that. But they're just all the ideas to come. That's where I'm going to leave this video. I hope you found this useful. As before, if you want the presets that are in this video, they're all in the Sekora Artist Essentials pack. There is a link in the description and in the comments to go and get that from Sekora's website. It is really, really good. I have built this whole track using it. There is an infinite amount of possibilities with that pack, so go get it. I highly recommend it. And I will see you in the next video. See you later. Bye.